Hello everybody, my name is Benji, and welcome back to Satisfactory. So I'm starting off here on the Steam welcome screen with the soundtrack in the background, because I bought it, because it's cool, but also because Satisfactory 1.0 is no longer. Satisfactory 1.1 is here, which I'm super hyped for. I haven't gotten to play a whole ton, and obviously I just came back, so I'm really glad that I'm back here. Oh, maybe that's why it was so loud. My headset was really loud. Anyway, I'm glad to be back. I'm excited to be jumping into things here. I absolutely peaked my mic audio. I'm still adjusting things. I have now moved my entire setup into the new house that fiance and I are renting together. So if audio sounds a little weird, if things sound a little off, please do feel free to let me know, and I'll do what I can to address some of that. And I'm sure a lot of that will also be addressed once I get some more of our items hung up on the walls for some dampening. So let's go on ahead and go through Satisfactory 1.1's additions to the game while the game is downloading in the background, and then we can hop in and check out some of the stuff in-game. So you can go ahead and feel free to read the patch notes. I absolutely encourage that, especially because the Satisfactory team does such a good job at making these patch notes and the release videos and everything else that goes with it. But the major things that I want to touch on in this post are the photo mode, because the old photo mode I pretty much only used to remove my HUD, and that was about it. But the new photo mode allows you to pose the character, go into free cam mode, and go through a whole bunch of different filters and everything. Also, sorry for the little bit of stuttering there. My computer decided to freeze for a second. Probably because I'm installing Satisfactory in the background while recording, and my computer doesn't like that very much. So the new photo mode is going to be an absolute blast to go through. And in addition to photo mode, you can kind of start to see here that controller support is in the game. I personally will not be using controller support because keyboard and mouse feels like the only proper way to play this game. But once it comes out on console, I might buy it and dabble around just a little bit in support of the studio, because I love them so much. Another big thing for the early game, doesn't really apply to me in my hyper late game playthrough, but crash site dismantling. Once you remove the hard drive from a crash site, you can dismantle all of the components of the crash site and get a whole bunch of different materials. So I would really love to walk around and just see what kind of drop pods give what kind of materials. I have a feeling that some of the later game areas might give some higher tier materials, while the lower game areas, the earlier game areas, like the green fields and the starting zones, might give you like iron plates and reinforced iron plates and stuff like that. That's a good boost to the early game, but not really impactful once you hit steel. The personnel elevator is huge. You can place elevators with varying heights and varying levels of stops. You can name each of the stops. There's music. That's going to be a really cool thing to replace a lot of the factory walkways that we have. So I'm definitely looking forward to messing around with all of these. That's going to be cool. Advanced game settings, whatever. Trains now have buffer stops. So if you're manually driving a train and you reach the end of a railway, it'll derail, which I'm 100% going to do purposefully at least once, because I want to see what it looks like, and I bet it's going to be really funny. But you can place buffer stops at the end of the rail in order to stop the train dead in its tracks. Doesn't really apply to us, because at this point all of my training is using the automatic train modes, and I just add a new thing to the schedule, so that's cool. For all of you weirdos that use left-handed drive or left-hand drive, basically anyone from Europe, I'm calling you out here, you can now have left-handed block signals and path signals. You heathens, congratulations. Anybody that does that, banned. Instantly banned. Kidding, of course, but banned. Not kidding. Kidding, not kidding. Anyway, for buildings and logistics, these are kind of crazy. Conveyor wall hole is something that I used to have a mod for back in the day before achievements got introduced. And let me tell you, being able to just put a conveyor wall hole in the middle of any wall was a lifesaver in really tight logistical spots. And I have a few places in my current factories that I would love to replace weird conveyor walling things or weird conveyor things with a conveyor wall hole. They had the pipe hole. I don't know why they didn't have the wall hole. It was probably just a technical debt programming thing. I'm so glad that they have it. And then this one is huge. Conveyor lifts now have merger support and splitter support. So you can take a conveyor lift, plug it directly into the bottom of a merger or splitter, and then it will split and merge accordingly. I think for splitters, the input of the splitter is still on the side, so it's only the output that can be via a splitter, or maybe not actually, because this looks like it's a splitter accepting a conveyor lift, and then that's a merger accepting a conveyor lift, so maybe it accepts it as input and as output, and it kind of just depends on the directionality of the lift. That's something that I want to check out. And then this is also huge, the priority merger. So for those of you that know, Factorio has splitters, and splitters are just splitters and mergers. If you have two belts side by side and a merger, splitter, whatever in between them, you can prioritize the input and also prioritize the output. In Satisfactory, we have the Smart Splitter, which has the overflow outputs, so priority output splitters using the Smart Splitters. Now we can have priority mergers. And it looks like there are 3 levels of priority as well, which is super, super nice. And I would also be willing to bet that if you attach a conveyor lift to this as well, you would end up having the conveyor lift supports there as well. But you can have a low, medium, and high, and if they're both tied with one another, the output alternates between each of them, which makes a lot of sense, and I can think of quite a few places in my current factories that a priority merger would be extremely, extremely nice. Another huge thing is the conveyor throughput monitor. Now, most of my factories have a lot to do with buffering, but for the ones that actually have very precise feedback ratios and feedback systems, feedback loops, this is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And I'm really excited to have the throughput monitor. It does not have direct decimal inputs. I think it's only integer values. But that's okay. We can work with integer numbers. I am okay with that. Pipeline build modes now have straight build mode, so that's super nice. I hated the fact that they gave us the straight build mode for conveyor belts and then decided, hey, screw you, I'm not giving it for pipes until 1.1. So I'm really glad that they added this. They also added a curved build mode, and I saw an example of it in the bottom of a screenshot way up here. This guy, you can see it curving very nicely around those little corners there. So that's going to be cool to mess around with. I personally don't like the look of it, so I probably won't use it all that often. I like my nice right angles, but we will see. We will absolutely see. Hypertubes are something I've never messed around with too much other than the mid-game. But now there are 3-way hypertube junctions and also hypertube splitters. So much like a train, when you approach a split, you can choose which direction to actually go and split off into. Now you can do the same thing with hypertubes, which makes them a much more viable late-game transport option. Granted, the overhead to actually produce such logistics networks is not great. And in my personal opinion, not worth it. If you have the train infrastructure, just place down a train, take it to where you need to go, dismantle the train, and be done with it. None of this adding a hypertube nonsense. However, there is a quality of life that I'm curious might be very helpful for that. And that is the automatic connections of conveyor pipes and railways in blueprints, which for me is going to make my life a whole lot easier while expanding my railway, which is pretty much done at this point. So there's not much to expand, but the last little bit that's going to be expanded, this will be really nice. And this might also apply to the hypertubes. Although it does not directly say hypertubes are supported here, I would bet that when it says pipes, it also means hypertubes. Because what is a hypertube if not a pioneer pipe? Just putting that out there. So maybe putting some hypertubes in your rail blueprints will make it a lot easier to go through the connection process and make it viable. I don't know. I'm not going to go through and add them to all of mine because the entire railway is done, and I don't feel like doing that. Did I skip over anything? There's new architecture pieces. The vents and fans are really the big ones that I'm excited for, and the roll-up gate is another big one that I'm excited for. I don't really use beams. I found them cumbersome and not all that important, so I just don't use them personally. Flashlight works in hypertubes, and that's cool. Drones are better. Conveyor poles and pipeline supports have soft clearance. That's something that has really ticked me off for a long time. Why can't I put a conveyor pole clipping half into a manufacturer, even though it doesn't actually clip into the manufacturer's sprite? Now it doesn't, so we're good. Nudging can be done vertically using the page up and page down buttons, which is great because I don't think I have those bound to anything on my OBS. I only have insert, and I think the home button. So we're good there. There is no max distance limit on nudging. That's the other big thing. It used to just be like 8 meters or something. So super hype about that. I can now go the entire map nudged. So happy. They also added falling trees, which I think is pretty cool, but I am past the early game, so I'm never going to end up seeing that at this point. A bunch of visual effects are polished. Audio stuff is polished. New Ada voice lines are in the game, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff about modding, bug fixes, and everything else. The devs are great. I absolutely love it. And it's cool stuff. So, without further ado, let's go in game. And first thing that I notice, I'm actually gonna switch over. Completely didn't think to do this. Come on, OBS. First thing I notice, brand new starting screen. I actually kind of miss the 1.0 starting screen with the drone flying over. You can tell that there's some inspiration taken with like the foundries here, because it used to have constructors here. The 3 pioneers are still present in the 3 trailer outfits, the default pioneer, the green pioneer, and the red pioneer. Purple slug is still here, which is cool. Space elevator is still in the background. There's a beacon. But now you can see the road barriers, the sugar cube truck. The miner is still here, which makes me think this is the same location in the map. Elevator you can see here in the background, which is pretty cool. And then the vent fans, the other vent fans, and the the vertical garage door, which is pretty neat. Can't really see anything else here. Oh, there goes the elevator. So let's hop into my current save real quick and go looking around for all of the new stuff. And I'll just kind of pop in periodically when I find it. Okay, so we're in. And we have our lovely undecorated main base. First, I want to check the hub. There is nothing in the hub. Cool. Everything in the hub is finished. How about the MAM? Okay, so the... What? The priority merger needs crystal oscillators? Are you shitting me? That seems weird. That does not seem correct. That's very expensive for priority merger.
Priority merger unlocked. Useful for prioritizing between inputs to avoid eventual stoppage. If you have an issue with stoppage somewhere else, consult a physician instead.
Okay, that's pretty funny. Liked that. Okay. Okay, so it defaults to low. And then what? Can I not connect this to it? Do I need to connect it to this? I need to connect it to this. Oh, and that's interesting. It automatically outputs out the top. Oh. Okay, so it does still require it, if you want it to output out the side, it requires it to connect to one of the side inputs. It just transitions it to be this way instead. Also, what the heck? That's weird. Okay, so the priority merger is a reinforced iron plates, modular frames, and crystal oscillators, but then attach it to a conveyor lift and its AI limiters and circuit boards. I don't even know if I have circuit boards being sent to dimensional storage. Conveyor merger does not change cost. Conveyor splitter does not change cost. How about smart splitter? Oh. Well, that was weird. Where's the smart splitter? Reinforced iron plate, rotor, and AI limiter. And it does not change costs. Right, how about the programmable splitter? Ooh, okay, that one should... Whoa! Okay, dang! So heavy modular frame, computer, and AI limiter versus heavy modular frame, motor, and supercomputer to attach to a lift. That doesn't depend on the tier of the lift, does it? I don't think that it would. It does not. That almost feels like highway robbery. Supercomputers just to attach a programmable splitter to a merger or to a conveyor lift feels very weird. Anyway, I think that's it for the MAM, because everything else is still marked as completed, which means everything else must be in the awesome shop. Aha, yes, so there is the conveyor wall hole, the conveyor throughput monitor. Where is the hypertube stuff? I wonder if that's just unlocked in the hub now. Then we've got our shelf units and our storage boxes and stuff like that. Never really been a huge fan of all of those. No new customizer materials or foundations or walls. The personal elevator, the beam expansion pack, cable expansion pack, and ventilation bundle. I'm very excited about the vents. The vents, I think, are gonna look really cool. And then, of course, there's all of this stuff, but none of that has changed. So, for the low, low price of 27 Fix-It coupons, you can absolutely have all of the things hearts desire. And, of course, I have no coupons in my inventory. Honestly, I should probably just inventory at all times now. Let's see what Ada has to say.
Humans have long practiced delegating work that strains and tires them to machines. It is their best achievement. Simple counting and short-term memory are often among such challenges, which the conveyor throughput monitor is specialized in.
Starting with the
Simply
throughput
add it
monitor.
to any belt, and it will tell you its throughput after only 1 minute.
Honestly, 1 minute is pretty good. The conveyor wall hole is a little laggy, but that is a-okie dokie. This is one of those places where I'm like, yeah, conveyor wall holes would be super nice, because this is that's a mess. Anyway, does it actually put a hole in the wall? No. Does it actually put a hole in the wall once I connect belts? No. Okay, so that's a little sad that it doesn't actually put a physical hole in the wall. I think that would be really nice, especially considering the fact that the other ones do put a hole in the wall. Like these guys, you can actually see through the wall. I was kind of expecting it to do that, and I'm a little sad, in fact, that it doesn't. I am putting circuit boards in the Dimensional Depot. Wow, Past Benji is a lifesaver. Absolutely loving it. Okay, so cool. So we've got the conveyor wall hole. That's great. We already looked at the priority merger. There's also the conveyor throughput monitor, which is quartz crystals and crystal oscillators. Honestly, I am not entirely upset about that. That seems like a fine addition, or a fine cost. Now, let us dump some alien remains, and we can check how it works. So I'll just go on ahead and throw away all of my kills as of recently, and we will watch the sucker calibrate. And probably end up needing to recalibrate and do stuff, but that's okay. I like the lasers. The lasers look pretty. Ooh, look at the way that the lasers light up on the belt underneath. That's awesome. How does it look on a Mark 6 belt? Oh, where'd it go? My throughput monitor died. Okay, well, now we're stuck here for another minute, so, Oh, now it says 15 per minute. Oh, now it says 24 per minute. Now it's correct. Okay, so it's gonna average out over time. I see. I see. It's taking a rolling stock of everything. Also, yes, it does look like the hypertube junctions and branches are, in fact, a compound of the hypertube unlock. And then the elevators go in there. We're going to go to a different location for the elevators. I have a really good place in mind to test that one out. And then we've got the walls and the roll-up gate. Don't I have a gate over here? I do have a gate. Great, so let's go on ahead and test that guy out. That's the gate that I just got rid of. Oh, it's too tall? Whoa. Aww. Whoa, it's big. I did not realize that it was big. Is there a smaller one? Is there not a smaller one? I guess there's not a smaller one. Huh, okay, well, I guess that just means that we're gonna put this guy back, that guy back. But it looks like I have a double gate here. But if the roll-up gate is very wide, then I don't want it placing that. Okay, well, we'll find a use for that around somewhere, I'm sure. And look at that, it balanced out to 20 per minute. It's fully calibrated. You can see the throughput going absolutely nuts. That's actually pretty cool. And then, what else was there? There's just all the H-beam, shelf beam cables, yada, 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 yada. Ooh, the fans! I'm a windmill of fans. I am a big fan of fans. It's great. Might be able to hear fiance giggle in the background there. Look at that. They're crooked, but I don't care. Those are going to be so cool to put on like oil builds and stuff. That way it actually looks like it has ventilation. That's going to be absolutely sick. Okay, so I have an idea of where I would like the first of the elevators go. So we're going to go check that out. But first, I suppose we should check out the drop pods. I realize there's a drop pod en route. So I guess we'll stop by this drop pod. And it looks like just your basic run-of-the-mill materials. Nothing too special. Some modular frames is kind of nice for the early game. And I think I saw, yeah, some reinforced iron plates, some rotors. Yeah, look at that. That's a pretty decent haul, all things considered. Oops. I'm out of jetpack fuel. Whee! Okay, cool. So yeah, no, that's actually a pretty decent haul, especially for the early game. So now let's go find that one, which is guaranteed to be a lot more late game. And so I wonder, first of all, what the heck happened here? Second of all, if it ends up being more expensive. And it looks like the answer to that is no. It is different. But it is not... Oh, hello, stators. Okay, so stators are different. And a little more valuable than just modular frame. But still nothing crazy. And now one that is certainly a late game item. We can check out this. And then over there you can see the radar in the distance. That's where we're heading for the elevator. Now once I get to that elevator, I'll come back in. But right now... Nope, okay, cool. So drop pods, you can really only count on the kind of mid-game or late early game materials, almost mid-game materials, reinforced iron plates, rotors, stators, basic steel kind of stuff. I think is kind of what we're looking at there. So let's go over to our soon-to-be brand new aluminum processing facility and test out the personal elevator. And then we will call it a day. See you in a second. So here is the soon-to-be brand new aluminum ingot processing facility. I'll do a more in-depth review of everything that is going on here in the very near future. However, for right now, I would love to test out the personal elevator, because right now I just have this funky looking walkway, and I'm sure you can remember the oil build also has a funky looking walkway, and I absolutely hate every single part of it. So, in transport, we go to personal elevator. We can see, I guess the power hookup is the same place as the door. So if we click and then drag, oh, it clicks. Oh, it clicks so nicely. It clicks to every quarter foundation, which is so nice. And then can we rotate it once it's... Oh, that's so nice. That is awesome. And then look at that. Of course, we don't actually have power running to it. Haha, oopsies. Totally remembered that these things need power. How about you? Where's your power nubbin? Power nubbin is on this side. So how about we put you there, right there. And then we drag you the whole way here. like that, and then out to the center, and then over. I'm just too excited. And then back, and we'll have you connectedly. There's elevator music. Oh my gosh, you can select so many floors. Edit floor information. Floor 1 and floor 2. Okay, so I have to turn up... What music setting would that be? Audio elevator. Does not have? How about personal? Huh. Usually, most of them have, like, proper things. Anyway, I really liked that first one. Oh! And it's actually pretty quick, too! That's so sick. That is so sick. Holy cow. Okay. We can actually select, like, icons? Oh, that's cool. Okay, so train stops. And then floor 2. Oh, we only have options for the monochromes. Okay. Well then, factory floor. Pretty simple. Oh, I'm getting dangerous ideas about making a mega base with so many floors and naming all of the different floors. That is sick. And then, of course, we can also put a stop. So each of the stops costs steel, motors, and mod frames. The personal elevator itself, to extend, only costs steel and silica. So a little bit of a quartz unlock. Not terrible overall, but not great for, like, early game processing, things like that. And now we can get rid of this, like, funkiness that always ends up happening at all the different places that I always end up hating. And then we can just have nice flush floors with our little elevator guy sitting right here, looking pretty. He's great. And then I can put, I can extend, you can extend the elevator up, and I will extend it so that it looks like it goes flush to the ceiling here. And then I will just fully flush it out. That. So it looks nice. Oh, no. Does not look all that nice when... ooh, let's try vertical nudging. I can hold it, and then I can page up. Oh, that's sick! Okay, that's actually great. That's the best addition. Out of everything, that is the best addition. Also, how to get power between floors. You can get power between floors with the elevator now. That's sick. Okay, cool. That's cool. That's really cool. And last but not least, photo mode. Go settings. Oh, okay. Camera mode decoupled. Oops. I clicked down to the game. Look at me. There I am. It's me with my little Fixmas hat. I'm like way out of season, but that's okay. Fixmas in July, right? It's June. It's close enough. Holy cow. And then I can go to the Pioneer and I can pose. Aww. Okay. Okay, sick. Okay, that's sick. That's... Oh, we're gonna have a lot of fun here. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun with thumbnails from here on out. Okay, okay. I can change the color correction. I can filter. Okay. Cheese times! Cheese times are my favorite times! 2007 is a filter, and Good Old Days is a different filter. That makes sense. Yep, for sure. Okay. How about effect? Whoa! Okay. Alright, we're gonna have a lot of fun. Noir. Dude, I can noir filter. That's great. Okay, we're gonna have a good time. Loving this update already. What other modes are there? Just first person. That's great. That's actually great. I'm gonna go have a amazing time taking a screenshot for the thumbnail for this video. But as of right now, I think what I will do. Oh, what? Bro, aren't you? Can I call the elevator? Oh, the elevator's not up here now. Okay. Anyway, as of right now, I'm gonna let that be the end of the video. So, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. But without further ado, can I pose in midair? Oh. Oh my gosh. I can pose in midair. Okay, hang on. Okay. Okay. Okay, hang on. Hang on. Right here. Yeah, right here. Right here. I'm gonna go into photo mode. Go into decoupled mode. And there I am. Wow, look at the scale. You can barely even tell that that's me. That's crazy. Okay. Alright, this is great. And a color filter. 2007. Do we want to do cheese times? No, not cheese times. Not 2007. Lonely. That's perfect. There we go. Alright, this is great. This is great. This is great. So, anyway, thank you, everybody, so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. But without further ado, adios, sayonara, au revoir, hasta la vista, das vidania, wiedersehen, ciao, and goodbye. Have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Get some sleep if you need to. Don't forget to stay hydrated. This video is in the bag, and I will see you guys in the next one. Oh, later, y'all.